Hey, Jeep guy here again on the Willys fuel tank. Got it in. Um, with the previous video, if you look, I had a problem with two of these Crown fuel tanks. They both had the same problem, leaking from the fuel drain plug bung. And what I did, I repaired it instead of going through the hassle of, I don't know, they're gonna send me a third one, who knows, and then it could have the same issue. I did what you're not supposed to do, and it's not gonna focus, but I soldered the drain plug bung, and if I can get it, yep, no leaks now. Definitely don't try it at home because it's very dangerous. The tank had been airing out for a few weeks, and then I went ahead and filled it with water, but yeah, it's in now. So another problem I have was the fuel gauge was messed up. One of the studs was just spinning on the back of the gauge. So I got it right here. So it's kind of like the cluster. You have the temperature gauge there, and the fuel gauge has 3 studs on the back, and this one here was loose and it was spinning, and that's the power from the key. That's their hot from the key, and then you have a voltage out, which is this middle one, and that powers the temperature gauge because these gauges run on a lower voltage. And then this one's the sender. So what I found inside the gauge, I took apart the little speedometer. It's super easy. The wire that attached to that hot stud had broken off. This little wire here, and it goes from that hot stud to this post on, looks like some kind of resistor here, and that's where you get that lower voltage to power the gauges. The gas gauge has a power supply in it. So I soldered this wire on just for testing. Well, actually, that'll probably be permanent because it works. And then the gauge still wouldn't work when I applied ground to the sender terminal, which if you apply ground on these old school gauges, the gauge should sweep. Still wasn't working, and I found that the actual axle was seized. It hadn't worked in so long, so I just put some spray on it and I got it moving. And then we'll see here. Go ahead, and if I put ground on the sender terminal here, see what happens. Oh, look at that. We got a sweep. Well, it's gonna hit that, but it's working. And then it should come back to empty now. So now I got to put this back together, and hopefully that new aftermarket sender is going to agree with the gauge, and then I should have a fuel gauge. And there's a lot of wiring. The wiring's super sketchy in this thing. You got just connections with tape and burnt wires here, melted wire, and then more melted wires down here. And I gotta straighten that out. But I'm gonna put this thing back together and see. Probably hook it up to that sending unit just to make sure it's all good. Alright, so I got the gauge installed, everything back in, even cleaned up all the wiring, I even added some fuses, so maybe it won't burn down now. Um, so I have the seat back out because there was a complication. The Turns out there's two different senders for these. The smaller one here is for the Jeeps that have the individual gauges, and that bigger one is for the single gauge. Now the single gauge has a different needs a different resistance um, in the sending unit to function properly. So this one, with about half tank of fuel, um, the gauge read just off E, so that's not going to work. And that also means that technically this is the wrong fuel tank, because they have a different bolt pattern. This one has a wider pattern and it's a 6 bolt, and the old one's a 5. So I'm not messing with this fuel tank anymore. I'm not going to buy another one. I bought the correct sending unit and I just drilled it for the pattern, the 5 bolt pattern. That looks kind of goofy, but I mean, it should be okay. This piece here is the same diameter, so it drops down in the tank fine, but you just gotta drill the pattern. So let's see if it works, I guess. Now the gauge is a little sticky, but see, it's coming up. It should be around, I don't know, it looks like it's around a half tank of fuel in there. And I don't know, like, I'm not really worried about how super accurate this thing's gonna be. Well, let's see. See, it's sticky, so it's coming up. I don't know, quarter tank there. I'm hoping it kind of works in. So I think the needle's kind of rubbing on the housing there. I should have bent it down some more, but I don't know. We'll see. It's definitely, at least it's working now, kind of. And then the temp gauge I'm gonna have to hook up. Right now it has this. That's gonna go. I'm gonna get rid of that. And I have the sending unit for the temp gauge. I gotta. Hopefully it's the right sending unit. But and also installing seat belts, or new seat belts. So it looks like it's stopping around a quarter. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, it come up a little more. So I don't know. Hopefully, it at least reads decent. But I get the seat back in there. It should be good. But so that's all for now.